Hey guys, Mr.G here. Unfortunately, we're kind of in the middle of fighting a giant sea serpent, so I can't really make a video right now. So please enjoy this backup video I made in this event. Hopefully you enjoy it. Bye. See you next time. The world of sharks is quite a big one indeed, and it's full of all sorts of diverse ocean life. From the tiny velvet belly lantern shark to the massive great white. And while most people know the great white as one of the biggest sharks of all time, as the saying goes, there's always a bigger fish. Introducing the whale shark, the world's biggest shark as well as the world's biggest fish. These guys are massive animals, and they live up to their name, being capable of reaching the same lengths as things like humpback whales. They massively dwarf the great white, being about 3 times their size. You might think of a giant shark and assume that it's a man-eater or a seal-eater or that it's a terror that haunts the deep, but no, these guys are filter feeders and only eat tiny microscopic animals like plankton or krill. The whale shark is part of a diverse group called carpet sharks, a fitting name considering that most of them spend most of their time on the seabed. In fact, whale sharks are actually pretty anomalous among the group for the fact that they actually do spend most of their time in open water, while as I just said, most of their relatives spend most of their time on the ground. Other carpet sharks we'll be talking about in later videos include nurse sharks, wobegons, and angel sharks. One last thing to note, despite initial appearances, whale sharks actually do indeed have teeth. They have a lot of them, they're just very tiny. Next up, we got the basking shark. Now, the basking shark can reach similar sizes to whale sharks, but they're on general average smaller than their relatives. Now, the basking shark has a much more typical appearance among sharks compared to the whale shark, but still, just like the whale shark, these guys are harmless plankton eaters. And by the way, the reason they're called basking sharks is because the way they slowly move through the water caused a lot of scientists to think that it looked like the sharks were basking in the sunlight. So, you get it? You get it! In the 1970s, a U.S. sea anchor ended up catching a strange fish unknown to science at the time. This fish was known as the Megamouth Shark, the third filter feeding shark. Now, unlike the other two, which are huge animals, the Megamouth Shark is actually pretty typical shark size. In fact, they're actually the same size as the average great white, with female great whites potentially being bigger than megamouths. So yeah, not very impressive compared to their relatives. To this day, megamouths remain a very elusive animal. We've only barely seen 100 of them, and to this day there are still a lot of unanswered questions about them. One of the big reasons megamouths are so hard to find is that they spend all their time in deep parts of the ocean where humans rarely ever travel. In fact, most megamouths spotted are dead ones, and only very few live ones have been photographed or filmed. It used to be thought that megamouths had a form of bioluminescence, kind of like other deep-sea animals, but it was actually found out that instead of actually glowing, they just have reflective surfaces on their lips that reflect sunlight. So, yeah. Well, let's look at the cards. Okay, for the whale shark, they overestimated its size. They gave it at 66 feet long, and while yes, the biggest whale shark ever recorded was only a few feet off of that, that's still technically bigger than any whale shark we've reliably seen. So yeah, that's a point deduction. Now, one thing I'm not deducting a point for, but I'm gonna point out anyway, they brought up the gastric aversion thing that sharks do. Basically, when sharks need to throw up something, instead of just throwing up like humans do. No. Sharks will flip their stomach into their mouths, at which point they'll squirt out the contents of their stomach. Now yes, whale sharks can do this, but I don't get why they're bringing it up here. Wouldn't it make more sense to bring it up in something like a tiger shark since they're gluttons and all that? But, whatever. 9 out of 10. Next up, the Megamouth Shark. The only error here is that this was made at the time when it was thought that they had bioluminescence, but nowadays we know that they have reflective surfaces on their lips. So yeah, 9 out of 10, and oh boy, that image on the back. That really takes me back. For the longest time, this is basically the only image I ever saw when I heard of megamouths. Every single shark book used that exact image. Finally, the basking shark. Just like the whale shark, it is way bigger than any other basking shark ever recorded. There has never been a basking shark anywhere near 50 feet long. Another thing this did is very poor wording. It claims that it can't eat things bigger than the average tuna. Do these guys realize how big a lot of tuna species are? What exactly constitutes an average tuna? Because some tuna can be the size of cars. So please enlighten me on what tuna you're referring to. So yeah, that's a point off for poor wording. And one final point for bringing up something that I have never seen anywhere else. It claims that basking sharks will rub their skin on enemies in order to wear them off. I have never heard any other source ever claim that any shark did this. So yeah, 7 out of 10. Now let's talk about human relations. Since these sharks are harmless, they do not have the same reputation as their smaller relatives, which is nice. In captivity, really, whale sharks are the only ones you'll commonly see, most famously at the Georgia Aquarium, where they have quite a few whale sharks on display. And as for basking in Megamouth, I don't really know any zoos off the top of my head that have basking sharks, and we have barely even seen Megamouths. You really think that you're just gonna walk into SeaWorld and see them? Honestly, you should know better right now. In pop culture, whale sharks have appeared, 3 times. That's just an estimate. Most famously appearing in the film Finding Dory as one of the main characters, Destiny. Oh, by the way, in my bull shark video, I made a joke saying that all sharks in media are either great whites or hammerheads. That is what we call hyperbole. I was not supposed to be taken seriously when I said that. So, thank you. And by the way, to the people who brought up Finding Nemo as an exception, that's because Finding Nemo is an outlier that proves the problem. So yeah, I still think we need more shark diversity in media. Now, the Megamouth Shark is also famous in the cryptozoology circle. I cannot believe I have to make that distinction nowadays. Anyway, cryptozoologists will often hold up Megamouth as proof that large animals can still be discovered in the modern era. Here's what I have to say about that. The Megamouth Shark isn't that much bigger than the great white. As I said earlier, they're basically the same size. And plus, the Megamouth is understandably rare since it's found in deep, deep, deep water where most humans can't go. So, where am I going with this? Please stop comparing the Megamouth to the Megalodon! Megalodon was a surface hunter that was way bigger than the Megamouth Shark! They are not comparable! Thank you and good night. Unfortunately, both the whale and basking shark are considered endangered, and the Megamouth is too rare to really gauge its conservation status. So, yeah. Well, hope y'all enjoyed this video. Next time, I won't be doing this cartoon. So, see ya!